Hi. Today I'd like to talk about lying or living with lies. I watched a part of a podcast the other day with it's Diary of a CEO with Steve Bartlett, and he was interviewing Martha Beck, and she has quite interesting things to talk about. And she talked a little bit about lying and how she has stopped lying. One thing she did was she had Steve put out his hand, and she reached over and put her hand on top of his and was pushing down on his arm. And she said, I'm going to ask you to tell a lie, and I want to see what happens. So she said, just say, I love to vomit. And so they were doing it, and he said, I love to vomit, and she could push his hand down immediately. And then she said, just say, I love fresh air, and did the same thing, and he couldn't push his arm down. And it was just interesting, what the effect of lying does to your body, whether it comes from your mind and affects your body, or it just affects your body. I don't know, and it doesn't really matter, but it's just there is an effect, a physical effect on your body when you lie. And I think that if we look at that in a bigger picture, I mean, that was just a simple lie. I mean, the thing is, he didn't even believe that, but the effect was still there. So we don't scientifically know what the effect of lying is on our body, but I'm pretty sure that there's a huge effect, and not just the everyday lies that we tell, but it's the lies that we live under, the ones that are, it's just based in our philosophy, what we believe. If what we believe is a lie, then it will affect our body, it will physically affect our body. And if what I've been saying is true, and that the existence of God and the existence of our soul and the things that I've been talking about about being true, being truthful, and if we live our life if that's true, if what I've been saying is true, and if we live our life not believing in God, not believing in any sort of existence after our body dies, then we are living untruthfully. We are living a lie. Our philosophy and what affects our beliefs is a lie. And what sort of an effect does that have? And I think it has effects in our physical body on earth. It's not just that we will need to pay for our sins in the afterworld, in the spirit world, but that physically our body is affected and can become diseased, dis-ease, I think. Another interesting thing she said, Martha Beck said in that podcast, was that sometimes she'll be in a room speaking to people. She does a lot of speaking to lots of various people, and she'll said, "Are you all comfortable?" And the whole room will say, "Oh yeah, we're comfortable. Yeah, everybody's comfortable." And she said, "Are you sure?" But when she goes through it, she said, are you really comfortable? Or does your does your mind take you through a process saying, oh, I want to be here, this room is stuffy, these chairs are uncomfortable, but because I want to be here, then I will tell myself that I'm comfortable. But the fact is that a lot of times people are not comfortable, although they're doing what they have chosen to do, but they're not comfortable. But we trick ourselves and we lie to ourselves that we are comfortable. And that's probably the bigger effect, not lying to other people, not telling those lies to other people, but the lies that we take on that we believe. That's probably has a much bigger effect on our life than the other. She said, I didn't agree with everything that Martha said. One thing she said was let me think about it. Oh yeah, she was talking about, she tries to alleviate a lot of people as they talk about their anxieties and how they could be alleviated. And she did a couple exercises with Stephen Bartlett, and she talked about other ones, but of the things she does to alleviate the anxiety. But I really don't disagree with her, actually. I'm not saying, no, actually I don't disagree with her, though that's what she was talking about, and the things that she said, tricks and tips, I think she called them, to help with your anxiety, does help with your anxiety. It does relieve your anxiety. But I guess I look at it in a bigger picture, and why do we have the anxiety? And where is the anxiety coming from? And if you look at, anxiety, say in a room full of people, well, why do you feel anxious? Well, what is the basic feeling as to why you feel anxious? And your basic feeling might be you have a basic mistrust of people, or you have a fear of not of the people necessarily, but what you're going to do in front of the people. So it's your anxiety is from the fear. And doing those tips that she said just relieves the anxiety, but it does not relieve or deal with the causing feeling, the causal emotion. And so it's kind of like taking a medicine. You have a pain in your body, and it's a symptom, I think, it's a symptom of your causal, it's a symptom of your feelings that you are not feeling fully and releasing. It's not the physical symptom that you have. So you take you have a headache. Well, you take a pill for the headache. Well, the pill isn't dealing with your causal feelings. It's not dealing with your fear or your anger or your grief. And those are pretty much the causal feelings that if not allowed to be expressed, if not allowed to be felt, you need to feel them to release them. And after a time of feeling them, then they will be released. So that's, I guess, just what she was talking about, but taking that further. To talking about anxiety, and you could probably say that anxiety is an addiction. So the anxiety is, as I talked about addiction before, addiction is the symptom of what the problem is. It's not the problem itself. The addiction is not the problem itself, and the anxiety is not the problem itself. It is it's the covering up of what the problem is. And as I keep saying, the difficulty, the problem is that we don't want to feel our feelings. That's really the big thing, I think. And it just seems like I keep going back to that. And the other interesting thing that Steve Bartlett said in that podcast was that, because she asked him how did he end up doing that, and he said, well, it was more of a giving up of things that I was doing, and then this is kind of what was left over. And it's likely, I think, when he seems like a very compassionate and introspective person, and it's possible that he didn't explain this in detail, but it's possible he just kind of came up against things that he just realized it wasn't good for his soul to be doing, and he gave them up. He gave those things up, and obviously he must have been a CEO of a company. And I didn't hear that particular story, but it just seems to me that that's when you start to look at yourself closer and where you are lying about things and looking at the truth of things, that it's possible that instead of seeing things that you can do, you just start seeing things that you wished you weren't doing. I've gone through that a little bit over the last couple of years of just seeing the things that I would like to give up, or just give them up, and not worry about some work that I was doing, and it was a decent amount of money, and it wasn't hard to do, but it wasn't. It didn't have a connection to my soul, but then so you work through the fear. Oh, well, will I be making enough money in the other things I'm doing, and will I be missing out on there was a social aspect to it, and but so I stopped, and I could have went back to it. It was a kind of a situation where I stopped, but I knew I could get back into it if I wanted to. And after a couple of months of stopping, I just did not want to. I just did not want to do it. And so that was a way to see what I was doing, and an element of lying in that. Telling myself, in order to do it, I had to tell myself, oh, this part of it, which I didn't really like to do, and talking about that being in a room full of people, that involved that quite a lot, and it was never comfortable, and I said, well, that's good for me to do that. Well, maybe it is, but it never got any better. I did it for 15 years, never got better, just didn't get better. Why do I keep lying to myself that this is a wonderful thing for me to be doing? It wasn't. So I stopped that, and some other things, just more minor and work related, where I just realized, well, I don't need to be treated this way. I was never treated terribly, but just some little things, and you give people grace if I know people quite well, and when they do something occasionally, it's not a big deal. But if it just seems like every time I go to work for that person, there's going to be these complications, and their actions did not respect my time, and So I would just I don't need to do those things. I don't need to take everything that comes along. And I guess the other thing, talking about lying, this is my theme today, and it's when sometimes when you listen to Jesus and before a seminar, and he'll just be talking about how he got to be where he was and doing what he's doing on the earth this time, and he'll say, well, there's 3 things that you can think about me and doing what I'm doing here. He says is 1, that I'm lying, 2, that I'm delusional, or 3, that what I say is true. And I could say the same thing here. I could be lying to you. All these talks, I could be lying to you. I could have developed this huge story, and that I'm just thought I would sit down in front of a camera and lie to you. I guess I could have done that, but if I was good at it, then it'd be better for me to be a fiction writer. I could be delusional. I could just really believe these things, but they're not true. That could be, and that could be. I don't think that's how it is. I think that through the process I'm going through is looking at things in a much, much more realistic manner than I've ever looked at things, in a more truthful manner. And and if Jesus is Jesus, if he is the Jesus that was born in the 1st century and was the actual Jesus then, and then he lived in the spirit world for over 2,000 years, constantly learning and getting better and progressing, and has chosen to come back to the earth. And he knew it was not going to be an easy process, and it was probably much, much harder than he thought it was going to be. I don't know that, but it was not an easy process, him growing up again on the earth, and forgetting. You kind of forget it. Like if we think of our life now, and we don't remember when we were very, very young, and it's kind of the same with him when he came back to the earth this time. He didn't remember, because of his family growing up and what he was doing and things. He didn't remember that he didn't know that he didn't remember that he was Jesus, and until he got into his 20s, and he started having these flashbacks and these pictures and this awareness of these other things, and it was not an easy thing for him to go through. And he lost his family, he lost everything he was doing. He lost all that. He got some of it back, but he lost all that, and just the emotional trauma he needed to go through to process through that. And then you come out of it, and then you know you're Jesus, and then you have to stand in front of people and say you're Jesus. You think that's easy? It's not. But he's doing it, and it's of course got a lot more easy through the process of doing it, but it was not an easy thing to do. So if that is all true, and Jesus is Jesus, then I've learned what many things I'm telling you. That's my base of where the information comes from, and from the writings in the Paget messages, where a lot of other spirits, some celestial, mostly celestial spirits, are speaking through Paget, and so that's where it's kind of like a base, because I'm getting more willing to trust my own emotion, my own soul, and sometimes things just come to me I haven't heard from anywhere else, and some things I've talked to you here in these talks is just, it came, I don't know where it came from. Well, I know kind of, but it wasn't from me hearing it from anyone else. But it feels as true. And so, but it could be a delusion. I could be delusional. That's okay. I don't think I am, but I don't think delusional people know that they're delusional. So, and whatever lies I'm still telling myself are still there, whatever they are. I know I'm not clear of all those things. I know that. And it is a process to go through. But I feel like I'm involved in the process now, and I can involve God or God's love in that process. And that's just getting better. And I feel many times now just to stop and to and to pray, then I just become happy. I become very, very content and happy. And there's nothing outward about around me has changed, but I can go from being sullen by praying and be happy. And it doesn't need anything outside of myself except God's love. So that's where I am at today. So thank you for listening. By the way, this is my barn. You can see my Canadian flags. You can see I live in Canada. And snow's all gone here, as you can see. Took a while, but it's gone now. It's the April 20th today. And nice sunny day. So thank you.